Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults.
And beer. That took me a second. I'm like, oh wait, that's me. Whew.
um, just a crazy Florida man and a crazy goth girl drinking beer and talking about true crime.
Hell yeah, that's the best way to have it.
With me today is Natasha Carlson from Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy podcast. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So my show, we kind of do a whole bunch of things. So I have some where we just discuss cryptids, where it's the history, sightings, reports, that kind of thing, just to give you an idea of what is out there, and then kind of beg the question of what do you think? What could it be? I try to look at everything as an optimistic skeptic. So do you believe it? Do you not? But either way, I'm going to cover both sides and argue both sides and be devil's advocate. So we do a lot of that. Then we also cover haunted places. So I'll choose a place and we go over the history of the facility or building or anything in the area. Then we go over any dark history behind it, murders, whatnot. And then the current hauntings that are reported. And then if I have done investigations there, I will put in my personal experiences that I had there, or I'll have people on where maybe they investigated that place and we'll talk about their experiences. And we just kind of dig into, what could it be, what happened, different things, and then kind of, would you visit, would you not? I like to ask a lot of questions at the end just to kind of get people engaged in it. And I love having my guests on. I have people from all over. We've done alien abductions. We've done Bigfoot sightings, Dogman sightings. I mean, it's been all over the place. We try to do conspiracies because with me, instead of doing whole episodes on conspiracies, I like to do whatever episode I'm doing, but kind of factor in conspiracies behind whatever it is we're talking about. So, Bigfoot, we don't really do, or I haven't done yet, like a specific Bigfoot topic. But if I have people that have sightings and encounters, I interview them on the show. And then I'll sometimes filter in, like, okay, here's one conspiracy. What do you think about this? And I like to just ask questions and get people to be educated, aware, and just kind of think outside the box.
Yeah.
I personally have a lot of paranormal experiences myself and can do some really weird stuff. I guess I don't like to put a label on it, but it's people have used a bunch of different words to describe me. And I like to talk about those too, because I mean, I have seen, heard, felt some serious stuff, and I like to get out there and have people that are similar with it on, so that way we can kind of, like minds, because when you do some of these weird things, you kind of feel alone a lot of the time. And to have somebody
Mhm.
else who has experienced what you have or something similar, it makes you feel like you're not crazy after all, I guess. And
So,
that's pretty much it. I'm everywhere, on all platforms, on all the social
YouTube?
medias. And then I
You got a
have,
YouTube?
yeah, www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com is my website. And it has links to everything, the merch store, social media. The episodes are there if you want to do that as opposed to using one of a normal platform. So
Hmm.
I
Do you
think
have a
that's
YouTube
pretty much
page?
everything. I do have YouTube.
Okay. I'm just
Ah,
curious.
ha, ha. I even have a
um,
Patreon page. So that's where
I
my
don't have
videos are.
one. I took my Patreon down. I decided I had to rethink it because it was just getting weird. I'm not even talking about the episode that we did. I'm talking because that was somewhat on topic. We did we did crazy date stories.
Yes.
I'm like that's not what that that's not my show. So
Well,
I'm just like okay,
some.
it's time to rethink.
My weird date story would classify as a crime. So there's that.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah.
basically, so in my studio here, for all of you looking, I do not have them turned on at the moment. But I have cat balls that I stick throughout my studio. So when I record, I will leave them on. And a lot of times things will interact with us as we're recording. And we'll catch like a bunch of EVPs and stuff like that. And because so much weird stuff was happening, I started recording the video and I posted it. So the only place that you can actually see what's happening is on my Patreon feed. And I do that in some spirit box sessions. And I like to do funny obituaries. So it's just kind of it's just a fun but dark. We do cuss. I do have a dark sense of humor and a dirty mind, so be warned. Don't listen
Well,
with
I'm
your kids
just
around.
once I figure out a way to go with the with the Patreon, I'll put it back up again. But right as a phrase, and I thought it was just best to just shake it down.
Yeah,
But but we'll have another one.
we'll get there.
Yeah. So um, so let's get into this thing, shall we?
Let's do it.
It's not super long, but then again, it's not super short either. So
That's what she said.
Average, but
Sorry, again, warning.
it's about an average length episode for us. So William Darrell Lindsey was a serial killer who killed 6 women in St. Augustine, Florida, and 1 in Asheville, North Carolina, between
I've been to
1983.
Asheville. I went on vacation there.
I've been there too.
I had a great time.
But he was convicted of 6, but he's known to have committed 7, and possibly up to as many as 25.
Well, that's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, and he had a distinguished nickname, Crazy Bill, and he's like there's 2 sides of me,
The front and the back.
William, yeah, right. William is the good guy. Crazy Bill is the bad guy. Yeah, it's like, shut up, Bill.
I'm just over here like, oh my gosh, now you're gonna be Crazy Bill.
No, William is my middle name.
Ah, it's okay. Everybody just calls me Natty now. I guess I just inherited a beer name. We're gonna pretend I didn't have to Google to figure out what exactly Natty Ice was.
Ugh, it's gross, is what it is.
No, I don't drink beer. Period. But yeah.
But his killings were of the sadistic torture variety.
Oh.
He had an alter ego that he called Bad Bill, and like I said, yeah, but you don't get to choose your own nicknames; they have to be given to you.
Well, it's a lot of serial killers get conceited and they make their own. They just throw a noodle at the wall and see what sticks.
BTK.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! Like, get a life, dude.
But this is a lesser known serial killer, and I don't know why. Because when I found this story, I looked on Spotify, and there are only 3 other episodes on him.
Well, so, I mean, he's in Florida, and there's so much shit that happens in Florida. Maybe it just kind of whoop.
Yeah, but this one's like,
or
this one's insane.
I wonder if, because you did say it was very gruesome and violent, maybe they didn't want to put it in the press as much.
It's Florida.
I know, but depending on what it is, they try to, I think, sometimes low-key put it on there because they don't want the details getting out.
I don't know. I mean, they did Gerard Schaefer. He's a well-known one from Florida. Danny Rolling, Jesus Christ, and Ted Bundy. You can't get much more sick than them. So,
well, everybody liked Ted Bundy because, well, everybody liked Ted Bundy. But I wonder if there was anything else around the same time that happened that might have kind of shifted the limelight away. You know what I mean?
Could be. I mean,
I don't know.
You know what? I should have looked into that. I should have looked into that. Oh, well,
I'm good at questions.
Podcast foul.
Party
You're right.
foul.
I should have done that. I'm just like, it's like, oh, he wasn't very well known, and I didn't even look into why. So.
And when did he operate again?
83 to 96. 13 years. So, but then again, that's a long period of time too. So what could have possibly been going on? It would have been what's going on in 1996, and there really wasn't anything. Nothing significant. So,
Gary Ridgway.
That's not in Florida, though.
I know, but if there was something that happened nationally, it might have booted out the little Florida guy.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, that was around 96. I think was around the time when Danny Rolling was in court. I'm not sure, but anyway, he married twice. Hiccup. He had 7 children. 7. Um, he was born William Armstrong Jr. on May 18th, 1935, to William Armstrong Sr. and Mabel Armstrong. And Sr. was a roofer,
Sorry.
and I couldn't imagine being a roofer in Florida. Jesus Christ. Um,
Well, some people, I can see it. Me, no. This girl does not like the sun.
me either. But they lived in Palatka, Florida, which is in the upper part of the peninsula between Jacksonville and Gainesville, but it's in the center of the state.
I know someone from Gainesville. My ex-husband. I don't
Okay.
think he's a killer.
Well, maybe not. Fun fact: in Palatka, there is a external fuel tank that was built for the space shuttle on display at the entrance to the marina there, because that city sits on the St. Johns River.
Hmm.
Um,
Ooh, I
but
know
on
who
August,
outshined him.
huh?
I think I know who outshined him.
Who?
Dahmer was caught in 91.
Yeah, but there's still 96 when he got caught.
I don't know. I mean, Dahmer's already still huge. I can imagine it'd probably last more than a year, right?
I just did an interview yesterday with a man who wrote a book about the probability that Dahmer killed Adam Walsh.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that book.
Oh, I know what did it.
What?
100%. Ready? December 26, 1996. Joan Benet Ramsey.
He was
And that was
arrested.
nationwide. Huge publicity.
Hold on a second. Let me go to the end here. You might be right.
Because that is the very end of 1996. And there was also Olympic Park bombing in 96.
Yeah.
Tupac was shot down in 96.
Where is the date?
No, that's 93. I mean, he was this else.
I can't find the date that he was arrested. Oh well. We'll get there.
Not soon enough.
But
sorry,
on August 18th, on August 18th, 1935, tragedy struck, and they were in a car accident, and John and Mabel were killed. William was, just 3 months old. He was banged up, but he was unharmed. And I'm wondering if he got a head injury because he was only 3 months old. And some reports
what
say
year was that again?
35.
Oh, and they probably didn't even really have car seats then, right?
Mm-mm.
So that's really like a miracle.
Yeah. Depending on how you look at it, considering how he turned out. But
okay, true.
He was only 3 months old, but some reports say that this was a attempt by his father at a murder-suicide, but put a knife in that.
Well played. I feel like if you were going to murder-suicide, you wouldn't do it in a car.
Unless you lived in a place that had a cliff.
True, but I feel like if it was a cliff, the baby would have been hurt a little more than that.
This is Palatka, Florida. There's no cliffs.
Oh, I don't know anything about Florida. Except it's hot and sunny.
There's no cliffs. It's mostly flat. There's some hills in the center of the state, but anyway, a couple from St. Augustine, Cecil and Darrell Lindsey, they had also just lost a baby boy, and they adopted William, and they changed his name to William Darrell Lindsey, and the couple had 2 other children, two girls and a boy. The sources here for this are Evil Lives Here documentary, season 5, episode 8, a little bit of Wikipedia, and some Murderpedia.
Murderpedia. That's the best name ever.
Cecil, excuse me, was a hard worker. He was also a well-known semi-pro local actor in town, and he was a favorite locally in St. Augustine. He was cast in a lot of plays. Yeah, he was popular, a legit local celebrity, and I looked for articles about him, but I couldn't find any. I was hoping that St. Augustine had an old, like, 100-year-old playhouse that was still open, like some cities like Cocoa, Florida has. But I
Well,
couldn't find anything.
sometimes those older records, given the year that it is, they didn't do a lot that were on anything that you could find online. You would have to go to the place, go to like the courthouse or whatever, and get into their records.
Or get
like
a
the little flippy
subscription,
things.
or get a subscription to newspapers.com, which I've been meaning to do.
Oh.
But I'd feel really stupid if I get blasted with responses saying that there is an old theater that's still open. But all I'm really saying is that I've been to St. Augustine quite a few times, and I don't remember seeing one. It wouldn't surprise me if there actually is one there, though. But I wasn't looking for a play, so go ahead, make me feel stupid if there is one.
In Florida, right?
Yeah, we'll do an unoriginal update episode if there is one that I can find, and I'll link it to Cecil.
There is that doesn't look like an old one.
I was talking about like an old one that Cecil might have performed at, But
oh wait, I don't want to say old. I want to say historic. Let's get fancy. The Limelight Theater. I don't know when it was open though.
That's like 50 or 60 years old.
Performing arts. Let's see here. I don't know. It does say,
I looked and I couldn't find one.
It's in the historic district.
Yeah. So Limelight might have replaced a much older one. So, but Cecil was a great guy, but not all was well, because his wife Aline was not. She was a nurse. She was ultra religious, and probably hated Cecil's popularity. Yeah.
Okay. Located in the corner of Cathedral Place and Cordova Street, was a theater, as an opera, some word I can't pronounce, house, eventually transitioning into silent screens by the 1920s. And then Paramount Pictures operated the theater in the 40s and demolished in the 50s.
There it is.
Oh, the Jefferson Theater.
There it is. I'm sure Cecil performed there. But Aline hated his popularity. Probably she was physically and emotionally abusive to her children. If a kid misbehaved at all, it was a sin, and she had to punish
those.
Yeah, she had to punish the kids for being sinful to save their souls.
She had to thump them with a Bible, teach them a lesson.
Probably, but belts, frying pans, anything else she could find. She would jerk their hair. She would pinch them hard, like
baptize them in the bathtub.
On this part underneath your arm,
Yeah, the flab, the part that waves when you wave. It waves back when you wave, or mine does.
But she would belittle them, call them worthless, and all while screeching about God and God's will and how all those kids were sinners. But like Willie Picton and Jerry Bruto's father, Cecil was a sub in the marriage, and he did whatever she said. He would bring home his pay for love, because Aline didn't work. She said we gotta hold. He said we gotta hold on to what we've got. It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We've got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot.
I'm trying so hard not to do it.
No, don't. What are you doing? Put the frying pan down, Aline, please.
I brought home the bacon. I'm not the bacon. Oh.
See, I told you we were going to have fun on this one.
Always.
But not surprisingly, remember when I said that he got a head injury he probably got a head injury from that car accident?
Yeah.
Well, he probably did from frying pans too, but he began torturing cats, and he even killed one. So
how old was he when they did that?
he was.
Does it say or just a kid?
Just a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, it's fucked up.
I would imagine he's under 10 at this point. But in school, he was described as a C-grade student with low intelligence. He was relentlessly picked on, and he retaliated by setting a shed on fire that some of the kids who tormented him used as a little fort. He burned it down.
My brain, I thought you were going to say that some of the kids roasted marshmallows on. I was like, wait a minute. So he's like, take this for your secret hideout.
Yeah. I had a shed on the property. I lived on an acre one time, and there was like an old, wooden building that was there, and we used it as a fort. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I never had anything that cool. We had a chicken coop.
But there was, it was Florida, and there's no AC in that thing. Kids can take the heat a lot better than adults.
Amen. Amen. Now I feel like I'm going to freaking die.
He failed several grades, but he did make it to 12th grade at 21 years old. But he dropped out. It's like you made it all the way there, and then you dropped out. Why not just finish?
What? Well, by then he could drink, so fuck it. I mean,
yeah, right.
School or alcohol?
Beer.
Yeah.
He was an outcast, all throughout his childhood, and he never had any friends. And like I said, head injury. He probably had multiple head injuries, starting with the car accident, and likely several more from being whacked with a frying pan. And there's no info that I can find about how his brothers and sisters turned out, but because they went through the same abuse that he did, but they hadn't been in a car accident at 3 months old.
Yeah. Now, I will say, since you did mention in the beginning that he has two sides and he refers to one as the other and one as another one, it is fairly common, I believe, for children that are violently physically abused and emotionally abused as a child for them to develop this split personality type thing as a coping mechanism.
I didn't do it.
I know someone who did.
Would she
Baja.
be oh.
Baja, can you hear me? Sorry.
He had a job as a teenager and a young adult as a busboy. But here comes a twist.
Uh-oh.
His natural parents had a life insurance policy and listed him as the beneficiary. And it specified that should anything happen to them before William was an adult, it would be held until he was 21 years old.
That's why he dropped out.
Well, he didn't know it was coming. Cecil and Aline knew nothing of this. William didn't know anything about it either. So when he turned 20, the life insurance firm contacted him and told him about the inheritance that he would be getting when he turned 21. And it was substantial. And this was also what he found out that he had been adopted. At that point, he didn't know. So all of a sudden, one day, just knock on the door. May I speak with William, please? Sure, William. That's Aline.
Get your scrawny ass over here.
Yeah, he might not have even been living at home at the time. I'm not sure, but
on a busboy salary, he was living at home.
Yeah, probably. But when he told his parents about this, Aline demanded that William give it back to her to pay her back for raising him.
What a bitch. Please tell me that he told her to get fucked.
I think he did.
Good.
I really do, because
I'd have been like, yeah, with all the what do they call it when like you get sued, and it's for
he didn't ask her to adopt him.
No, you know what I mean? It's like the stuff that's not a physical injury, but like mental anguish.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, you owe me money.
Yeah. Well, if he hadn't moved out yet by that point, he did that day. Well,
Yeah.
when he turned 21. Yeah, that probably is why he quit school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're good.
My mind works in mysterious ways.
You're probably exactly right. That's probably why
Yep.
he quit at 21 rather than finishing. He's like, I'm rich.
Who needs it? And every 21-year-old has like, well, not everyone, but a lot of 21-year-old boys have no concept of how long that money is going to last or should last.
Well, I think it was $25,000 back in the 50s,
Damn.
which would have made it about 500 grand today.
Damn.
So yeah, if he had invested properly, he could have lived on that, but
Making it rain.
yeah. Well, he blew it. He did blow it. But he then got a job at a typewriter factory in Palatka. I'm guessing that he just wanted to get away from St. Augustine at that point.
Yeah.
And since his parents lived in Palatka, he's like, okay, let's just go back where my actual parents went. But he found a better job at a paper mill there in Palatka. There's like 3 paper mills. There's at least 2, maybe 3 paper mills in Palatka. There's even a factory that makes sheetrock too. So Palatka doesn't smell very good.
It's a very manufacturer strong industry.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay.
It's still, even today. I mean, there's I think 2 paper mills, and there's the gypsum factory, where they make drywall. But during the time when he was at the paper mill, he met and married his first wife, Willa Jean. William married Willa.
Willa, you marry me?
Yes, William, I will marry you.
Willa, do you take?
I can just see the freaking minister up there getting tongue-tied. Willa, do you take what?
Willa, you promise? Wait, what?
What? Somebody bring me a shot.
Yeah, or 2. Bring me the shot of holy water.
Yeah. So this was 1958, and he was 23 years old. So 9 months later, they had a daughter, Beverly.
Well, they didn't waste any time.
Nope. Willa Jean was a party animal, though. She was a wild child and definitely not mom material. She was always at the bar. She slept around constantly. William also had occasional ED, erectile dysfunction, but and whenever it happened, Willa Jean would belittle him for it, but put a knife in that.
That's the worst. Because that's gonna help.
Yeah, it's like, you don't. If you've got that, there's already something going on. So making fun of the guy is just going to make it even worse.
It could have solely been something that was psychological too. It doesn't mean that it was physical. I mean, if you think about and you consider the fact that he was so mentally abused for so long,
and physically,
she's then treating him like garbage, he might have just psychologically not been able to do it.
Oh well, she makes Aline look like a saint.
Oh,
but yeah, and at this point, you're kind of in the mindset of feeling sorry for, you feel sorry for the kid, not the adult, but
well, at this point, he's not done anything wrong,
right? That we know of.
Yeah.
But the couple would fight and split up constantly, but they would always get back together. Toxic. But after Beverly was born, William joined the National Guard, and that was when the monster inside him began to rear its ugly head. Likely being likely a result of being in such a toxic marriage. He started partying.
And here's a weapon. Go kill something. And I feel like there are some people that the only reason they are not serial killers is because they have not gotten that initial taste of blood.
Right.
If they ever were to get it, they would not be able to stop themselves.
True. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But he started partying and drinking heavily, and then he began beating Willa Jean, and this became the norm for years. And nobody deserves it, but you, no comment.
Yeah. I have a hard time not saying she kind of deserved it.
She, just wait.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
she's horrible. But he left the guard, but he still had his job at the paper mill in the National Guard's part time. He even started using heroin, but he's like, oh, it was just for a short time, just for a couple months. So he spiraled quickly.
I can't even.
Damn it! Now I'm getting tongue tied like the priest on their names.
Get the holy water.
William and Willa Jean had a total of 5 kids, and she would flip out on them and leave. And sometimes she would tell the kids that she didn't love them anymore. Other
Oh my
times,
gosh.
other times she would try to take them. And, when she would leave, which William was like, "You're not taking these kids."
Yeah.
And his kids actually looked at him as the good guy, trying his best to hold the family together.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like it.
On the surface, that's exactly what it was. On the surface. Willa would take an attitude that if she couldn't have the kids, nobody would.
Nobody could. Yeah.
The next time, then the next time she would say that she didn't want them. It was just back and forth. It's one time she wants them, next time she doesn't. And
she was using them as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it was. They weren't children; they were a weapon.
Right. But one time during a particularly bad fight, Willa Jean was trying to take the kids, and William wasn't letting her, so she pulled out a fucking gun, saying that she would kill the kids if he didn't let her take them. This is in front of the kids, too. Finally, William wrestled the gun away from her, and Willa Jean left. And this incident made William a hero in the kids' eyes.
Oh, well, I mean... not to mention, if you have somebody threatening the children and then wanting to take them, what the fuck do you think is going to happen to those children if that person takes them?
Oh, I know. No,
I mean, they're already dead.
Yeah, he's on the surface doing the right thing, but there's other things going on.
I do have a theory here
that nobody knows about yet. What?
At this point,
it
sounds as if at this point it sounds as if he's obviously got something mentally happening. They didn't have a lot of mental health help back then, and he's got all this turmoil and stuff, but he was so used to witnessing his dad being submissive that he believes that his job is to not act it out. So he's just shoving all of this negativity down, and eventually it's going to explode.
Thank you, Dr. Tasha. No, that makes sense. But one night, Willa Jean managed to get the kids in the car, and William tried to stop her, but she got away, and she took the kids to a cabin in the Ocala National Forest. If you don't want to be found in the Ocala National Forest, you won't be.
You won't? How the hell did this lady get a cabin if she had no job?
Maybe a friend owned it or something. Didn't really say.
Oh.
But
maybe she's squatting.
That's possible. But she had them for a couple of months, but somehow William found them. Yeah, and he took the kids home. They got separated, and William got full custody of the kids, but as usual, they got together, but not for long this time. It wasn't going to last. It was almost over. The kids looked at William as the good guy, and Willa Jean as the bad guy. They wouldn't know that William was the bad guy until much later. But there were signs.
Oh, you have been watching those shows on cable television. Evil Lives Here. Isn't that what it is when they're like, but there were signs?
Mm-hmm.
My husband loves that show.
that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Because I used that documentary for
Yeah.
for
I know
for
you said
the
at the beginning, so I was like, oh, well played.
yeah. I used it for the it's not really a story about him. It's a story of the kids.
Which is why I don't like
So,
that show. You don't get any of the good info.
oh no, there's good stuff and there's good stuff here.
I like Forensic Files because you get all the details.
But I was able to put together a pretty compelling episode off of the other stuff too. This
Sure.
just added to it. So, one time they were all in the car, kids were bickering. The documentary said that they were driving to Jacksonville to take the oldest daughter, Beverly, to an Alice Cooper concert.
That is awesome.
They didn't make it there though.
Oh, no.
But
It was almost
but
awesome.
anyway, rock on, rocker chick.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
William
Man.
got pissed. William got pissed because the kids wouldn't stop bickering, and he intentionally crashed the car.
Wait a minute. Do 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 do.
Mm-hmm. Nobody was killed, but 3 of them were hurt and had to be hospitalized for injuries. One of the girls had a concussion. The son, the only boy that they had broken both of his femurs. Ow!
Oh,
Ow!
wow.
The
I'm like,
femurs,
broke how? Were they fractured or were they like sticking through the skin? Like,
it didn't say. I'm hoping they were
oh.
just fractured, but it said that he had to be in a.
It's more painful, I think, to fracture it than to actually just snap the whole thing in half. Just so you know.
I'll take your word for it. William had broken ribs, and his side of the story was that he had fallen asleep at the wheel. It's kind of hard to fall asleep at the wheel with 5 bickering kids.
Unless you have narcolepsy or something.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Yeah, true.
Willa Jean said that he had crashed on purpose, and she blamed him for it. And she knew that William's dad had done the same thing, but the police didn't believe her because of how many times they'd been out on domestic violence, domestic calls. I was like, oh, this bitch is just crazy.
Yep. Don't cry wolf, y'all.
Yeah. So William was charged with aggravated assault for this. It didn't say if he did any prison time or anything like that.
Well, I don't think. Well, wouldn't that just maybe be probation? I don't know if that would even be anything that would be prison time.
I don't know. But
I don't know either.
But they didn't believe her, but he was charged with aggravated assault. So they did believe that it might not have been accidental. So
maybe he was under the influence of something, and that's what made it.
Could be. Like he was drunk or high or something. But well, he wasn't high, because if he was high, 5 bickering kids wouldn't have bothered him. He would have just been like, chill, kids.
No. Depends on the type of high.
Well,
some high weed. You get very irritable and you can't handle a lot of loud noises and fast movement and chaos. You just can't handle it.
Well, if it was weed, it would have been chill, but weed never comes up in this story.
But he also, remember, he dabbled in, what was it, heroin?
Heroin.
So maybe he had a little something.
Yeah, a little mainline action. Little dragon chasing.
Who knows?
But the family then moved to Tennessee in 1970, where he got a job at a steel mill. His issues with Willa Jean began taking his toll, and he wrote a 7-page suicide note to Willa Jean. She then had him involuntarily committed to a mental institution, but he was deemed to be fine and released. Next year in 19...
I'm on the fence about that one. Because...
Well, look at the year. It was 1970.
Not to mention,
well, no, it was
he was the man, not the woman. If it was the woman, they would have never let that bitch out. They would have locked her up forever and ever and ever.
And this was also this was also Tennessee, so maybe this is another thing, because they probably didn't know about all the bullshit unless they had to repeatedly call the police on Willa there in Tennessee.
Now, was there a suicide attempt along with the note, or just a note?
Just a note.
Okay, so I will fess up to I have written notes just to get it out of my system before I was medicated, and it would just help me get it out. Now, I was smart and I burnt them afterwards so that people could find them, but sometimes it's just a coping mechanism to get things out.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Devil's
Could be.
advocate.
But the next year in 1975, William and Willow were divorced. William was able to convince the judge that Willow was a train wreck and that she had severe mental issues, and he was right.
Yeah.
But,
Sounds that tracks.
yeah. He was awarded custody of all 5 kids, and William and the kids moved back to St. Augustine. William didn't waste any time. Later in 1975, he met and married his second wife, Annie Laura, and he adopted her 2 sons. Now, initially, she was the polar opposite of Willa Jean. She didn't drink, she was the happy housewife, and the kids liked her. But that didn't last long because her facade faded about a year after they got together.
Well, 7 kids will do that to you.
Well, yeah. But William, it didn't help that William was bouncing around from jobs and everything. He was fired a lot for stealing from the company that he worked for. He had a poor work ethic. But before too long, the vicious cycle of fights started again. But with Willa Jean, there wasn't really any real physical abuse like constantly, or it was like an isolated incident. It was mainly just a bunch of screaming. Because when he wrestled that gun away from her, he could have just pistol whipped her, but he didn't. He just basically subdued her, or shot her. Yeah. But I think the only reason he didn't was because the kids were right there. So
True.
there's good in him at this point. We don't know if he has started killing yet. At this point, we don't know. He probably did, but
well, I don't know. We'll see. I'll wait till I start hearing about the murders, and then I will make a decision.
But soon, William began abusing Annie. His daughter Robin would say that he had rage in his eyes that hadn't been there before. It was like he wanted to rip her apart. And she took off one time after they had fought, and Annie's son was able to pull William off of her. He was, he had her up against the wall, and he was about to beat the shit out of her. And her son was a teenager and was able to pull him off. But so she took off, but when and William went off after them, after Annie. And when they came back, Annie was obviously injured. She put an ice pack on her neck, and she was unusually quiet. And it's not known what happened when they were out, but based on what we know about his murders, it's likely that he strangled her. One time, one of the girls was doing laundry, and she found a shirt and pants that belonged to William that had blood all over them. When she asked him about it, he got mad. He's just like, "I cut my finger. Don't worry about it." But there's way too much blood there for it to be a finger cut.
Yeah, that's a little sus.
Mm-hmm. But they believed him because, like I said, he was their hero. He had rescued them from Willa Jean. And that's understandable. But he would up and move the family frequently. In addition to Florida and Tennessee, they lived in North Carolina and Virginia. He would never say why they were moving, but I have my suspicions. Maybe there was a witness.
Well, I will refrain until I know more about the stuff.
He also had a new car every year, and they didn't have that kind of money. But wherever they went, they would always find a church. William insisted. In his warped mind, he probably thought that would cancel out rape and murder. People liked him. He was an upstanding citizen. He would help out people. Nobody had a clue of the dark passenger that was riding with him.
Does it say what kind of church?
Just said churches. I'm guessing probably Baptist.
Oh, I was thinking Catholic. There's a reason why.
All right, why do you think it was Catholic?
Well, just in general, it's basically whatever, no matter what it is that you do, throw in some Hail Marys and you're Gucci. I
Once again,
literally knew a guy and he went out and partied and did whatever he wanted Saturday night because he said that as long as he went in Sunday and repented, he was fine.
sound logic makes sense. Makes perfect sense to me.
Baptists, I feel, are a little more strict.
Right. They are.
So,
Um, One time when his daughter Robin was about to leave on a date with her boyfriend, William pulled him aside for a chat. Come on in here, Sonny. Let's have a chat. Let's have a talk, man to man. Um, when the boyfriend came back, he was quiet. When they went on their date, Robin had to pull it out of him what he had said to her, or what he had said to him, and he told her that William had said that if he stepped out of line, he'd kill him. He'd disappear, and nobody would find him. Robin's just like,
now we're going to pretend that my mother has not had that same exact talk with people.
well, your mom's not a serial killer that we know of.
But she literally was at the time. If you just take out the fact that he killed people whenever, that conversation, I've known it to happen. I would give the same talk to any hoochie that wants to take my son on a date.
But what she's doing here is she's telling like these are the signs. I mean, she found like clothes with blood on them and all that stuff. So yeah, so these are the signs. It's just like, she convinced the boyfriend that that William was just messing with him because once again, this is dad, you know. But knowing what we know, he wasn't joking.
Well, yeah, maybe. We'll see what the timeline is. It's whether or not he's already murdered at this point.
Oh, I know he has, and we're going to get to that at the end.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah, he has. This is after 1983. So
okay. I don't know. I don't think anything of it, but that's just me.
At 17 years old, William said that they were going to move out of state again. Robin had had enough, and she's like, "I'm staying. I'm finishing high school. I'm finishing my senior year here. I'm not going with you." Surprisingly, William was okay with this, and she moved in with her aunt, and she stayed there when she met and married her first husband.
Okay.
But then Annie died of cancer, and William's behavior changed. He wasn't coping very well, and this was when shit hit the fan. He was paranoid. He always felt like somebody's watching him.
I love that song. I was actually just jamming that last night in the shower.
That's not a good place to listen to that song.
I know, especially when my lights are flickering the whole time.
Good God.
Well, I've got to just lighten the mood. Otherwise, it's weird.
Oh, my God.
It happens every time. Almost every single time I'm in the shower. Only one set of the lights flickers.
Well,
and it stops when I leave.
You know how they have those TVs that you can mount in the shower that are like waterproof and stuff?
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you one movie I'm not going to watch if I have one of those, and that's Psycho.
Yeah, I've not actually seen it.
Oh, well.
I don't watch scary movies cuz I'm a chicken shit.
There's a shower scene. I know you've heard the shower scene.
I know the shower scene. And I'm like, I know I see enough people that are no longer with us that I don't need to watch scary movies to have any weird stuff. Like, it already happens.
So by now, they were back in North Carolina, where Robin and her family lived in Asheville. One day, they had left the state and then come back to North Carolina because where they had gone, before where they were before was Asheville. So one day William came over with a gift for Robin's kids, and take a guess as to what it was.
I don't know. Which one did it go? Hold on. Which one did it go to?
Huh? Robin. It just occurred to me that her name is Robin and his name is William.
My brain was going, how does that have anything to do with Batman? My brain was just off in comic land. I don't know.
You'll never guess.
A coffin.
A little less ominous, but a lot more creepy. And I think that was a pretty redundant statement.
A
little less ominous. Nah.
Oh.
It was a blonde Dolly Parton style wig, and it was kind of disheveled. And it was, for the kids to play dress up with. He said that he had won the wig in a drawing at the mall, and the kids did love it, but it was horrifying because we know where that wig came from.
Was it an actual wig, or was it like a self-made wig, if you know what I mean?
It was an actual wig.
Okay, at least it was an actual wig and not like a Ed Gein wig.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it was an actual wig. But like I said, his targets, his victims were prostitutes or sex workers. I keep forgetting we're not allowed to say prostitutes anymore.
Say whatever you want. It's a night walker. Who knows?
Sex workers. But
to me, you got to distinguish the difference, because if you just say sex worker, it could be a prostitute, it could be a stripper. It could be all kinds of stuff. Right. A lady of the night. That's my favorite. And I know people probably get bent out of shape, but to me, that just sounds cool. If I was a prostitute, I want to be called a lady of the night.
Well, I mean, based on where your recording room is, it's nighttime in there.
Well, it's not. It's actually in the middle of the day. I just made it where it's really dark.
But things got even weirder, and he started telling the kids strange stories and doing weird things, likely to form that's just wacky dad type of shield, because if he could keep his kids in the dark about this, he could fool anybody.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, you got to think, if there's people spending every waking moment, but then again, also, children tend to be a little oblivious. So actually, it's funny that you bring that up, because
most of his children are grown at this point.
Oh, well, never mind then.
He brought the wig to his grandkids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's just weird.
It's horrifying. But one time he bought a new mattress, and rather than setting the old one out by the street or taking it to the dump, he partially burned it. Robin thought that was weird, but
partially burnt it. Man, he really doesn't do anything whole ass, does he? He's just half-assing left and right.
Well, I think that he killed somebody in his bed and burned the evidence, burned the blood stain.
Might have burned the whole fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
I think that's less conspicuous than a partially burnt one.
But he's doing that all wacky dad thing.
Oh. That's so weird.
Now, Robin's husband was a cop, and one day he got a call in December of 1996 from his sergeant with news that he had to break to Robin. William had been arrested for murder.
Do you want me to act surprised? Oh my goodness. Sorry.
At first she thought that there had been a mistake, and she couldn't believe it until she read his confession. This was William's final murder. The first that we know of happened in 1983 in St. Augustine, when he was 48 years old. Most serial killers start in their 20s or early 30s, and I think you'll agree with me and with my thought that he had been doing this before. He was already
Just
violent.
because most start young does not mean all start young.
This guy was doing it before. He was already violent, and he had already been using the services of sex workers for years at this point. There's a seedy area of St. Augustine that was known as Crackhead Corner, and it was at the corner of Volusia and West King Street. Crack addicted sex workers, drug dealers, and pimps hung out there.
Crack corner. That is the best.
Crackhead Corner. William was a regular customer, both of the sex workers and the drug dealers. And at this point, he was hopped up on cocaine, meth, and alcohol. He had a reputation as being a mean John, but that didn't stop the women from going with him, though. He had money, and he started going there pretty soon back after going back to St. Augustine in 1975.
Is this when he was still married to the second wife?
When did she die? Hold on, let me go back up.
I'm wondering if there's a gap there.
Hold on, let's find out when the second wife died. Hold on, let me scroll back up, scrolling back up. Oh, 17 years old. When Robin was 17 years old, Annie died of cancer. So is
that the oldest?
I'm not even sure about that. No, Beverly's the oldest.
Oh.
And Robin is the subject of that documentary. Oh well. There's always women who go missing, in this type of a setting, but sex workers usually go unsolved if a body isn't found.
Yeah.
Two of the women that William confessed to killing were never found, and we'll get to why. But William Lindsey has some serious Willie Picton vibes.
Yeah.
He's Willie Picton light, if you will. So put a knife in that. And I also have a hot take that we'll get to at the end of this episode. All of his victims were sex workers, druggies, some of which had criminal records. He was convicted of 7, but he claimed 20 to 25. 2 of the victims that he admitted to, like I said, were never found. Well, two of the victims that he was convicted of were never found. His first known murder was 24-year-old Lisa Haley, and she had been drinking at the Tradewinds Lounge in downtown St. Augustine on October 9th, 1983. There, she met up with Lindsey, and this is what he had to say about it. When we left the Tradewinds, we drove to the A Street ramp and down onto St. Augustine Beach. We had intercourse, and she wanted $300. I said $50 is all you're going to get. This started us fighting. I strangled her, and I took her body down to Passetti Road, and I dumped her in a borrow pit there.
Okay, for starters, get your money before you open your legs. Discuss price before they get the merchandise. And if you're getting $300 a pop, man, I need to change my job.
Yeah, if you're getting $300 a pop, you should go to Vegas.
Yeah.
But a borrow pit is basically like a man-made retention pond where like woods, where like dirt and stuff is like built up around it.
Yeah.
Kind of like a huge, like a big lake, like Lake Pontchartrain or Lake Okeechobee that has levees around it.
Yeah.
So that it's a much smaller version of that. So, but I had to look it up because I didn't even know what the hell a borrow pit was, and I live in Florida. so
it kind of reminds me of
you're borrowing
a man-made peat bog. Is what it reminds me of.
Could be, but they basically bring in like from a dirt quarry to build up the the thing around it. So I don't know why they do that. Maybe it's to keep the gators out or keep them in. I don't know, but um, I don't know. I'd never heard of a borrow pit before I started researching this episode.
Yeah.
5 days later, she was discovered in a marshy area off of Pope Road. Yeah, and she, so he's lied there. She wasn't, but then again, she wasn't positively identified until January 1997 from DNA. So
That's no, to me, when you have something where it's so messed up that you have to use DNA to identify it, that's pretty intense.
well, she had probably been munched on too. They didn't say.
Well, I mean, you would have assumed. Oh wait, never mind. I was thinking dental records, but probably not the best method.
Well, it just, I mean, if she's grown up poor and is now,
Exactly.
yeah, she's
I mean, I
probably
don't know a lot
never,
of sex workers that actively go to the dentist every 6 months.
right.
I mean, I don't really know any
So,
sex workers anyway, but just a thought.
well, if you're on the street and you're strung out on
Yeah.
drugs, there's a
You
very
can't
good
afford to
chance.
go to the damn dentist. You don't have insurance.
Right. So,
Yeah.
the next one was 27-year-old Anna McQuaig. She got into Lindsay's car at the corner of Ribera Street and King Street in downtown St. Augustine somewhere around 7 p.m. on November 29th, 1988. A county worker discovered her mutilated body floating in a borrow pit near St. Augustine Beach the following morning. And yes, he said that he thought that it was a mannequin at first.
It's never a mannequin. I have a shirt that says that, and I wear it all the time.
It's never a mannequin. There's never a shortcut. It wasn't fireworks.
Yep.
One of these days, I'm going to have a shirt made with all of that. Those three,
Yeah.
and then anything else I can think of.
What is the other
Yes.
one?
It's
It's like,
never-
so my mom was talking today because she said that she was at like Walmart and there was a woman who her car broke down or something and she needed a ride home. And I was like, rules, mother. I was like, help no one, stop for no one, and don't look back.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Yeah. That just always kills me. And I'm not sure which true crime podcast coined that first. It was either more, some people say it's morbid, some
I think
people
it's
say
morbid.
it was, but some people say that it was True Crime Garage. So I don't know.
I don't listen to True Crime Garage, but I do know Morbid, and it's been forever ago.
Yeah, and it was forever ago, according to
Just like Fresh Airs
True
for
Crime
Dead
Garage
People.
either.
That's my favorite too.
That's their best
Yeah.
morbidism. Fresh Airs for Dead People.
I love them. They're so great. They don't even probably know that I exist, but they're awesome.
She had been beaten so badly that her eye socket was crushed and her jaw was fractured in 2 places.
Holy crap.
Her nude body had cigarette burns and bite marks in several spots. And in a handwritten statement dated April 1st, 1997, after the DNA results came back, Lindsay confessed to the murder, but he couldn't remember why he had gotten so angry. He said, "We were fighting outside the car and I picked up a 3-foot long piece of board, maybe 1x6, and I hit her several times on the upper portion of her body. And after that, I carried her about 15 feet to the pond and I threw her in. I went home to my mom's at Sylvan Drive." So he went home to Mama, who he hates. But
Huh.
But that's crazy because, once again, that's a Willie Picton reference because Willie Picton's mother was fucking horrible. Ed Kemper,
Ed Kemper
even
went
Ed
out and
Gein.
killed all these women, and he went back to his mama until eventually he
killed
finally
her.
got the basis of all of his rage.
But Ed Kemper, Jerry Brudos, Willie Picton, they all had like horrible mothers, but they all still loved Mama.
Well, it's because that's how genetically most of us are programmed, that you want your parents' affection. That's just how it is,
Yeah, true, but
no matter how
so
toxic they are.
the north end of Anastasia Island was largely undeveloped until the 1990s, and dirt roads had led off into scrub forests and borrow pits. Law enforcement in St.
Lots of
Augustine,
borrows. They're borrowing a lot.
yeah, they the law enforcement mainly concentrated on St. Augustine and the beaches. All the other areas they didn't really pay much attention to because it's hot. There's mosquitoes. There's alligators, and it's 500% humidity. You
Ew.
know,
Yeah.
so
Fuck that noise.
Williams, missing prostitute, missing sex workers. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But but yeah, they did notice these because of how brutal that they were. So files were done on them. Yeah, even the fact that he began to routinely murder the women that he abused, it didn't raise a general alarm, since they're the you know lowest echelon of society, drug addicts and
Yeah. A lot of people
prostitutes living
target
in
them too.
poverty.
That's what's unfortunate.
Hmm. Besides Crackhead Corner along West King Street, the historic community of Lincolnville suffered its own blight. I mean, it's in a wooded area nearby what is known as the Cut, where drug dealers and sex workers often loitered. the The east end of the State Road 312 bridge over the Matanzas River was another gathering spot. You know, another place for
Yeah. They're known to be work.
date spots for sex workers.
Yeah.
But 26-year-old Connie Terrell was picked up by Lindsay as she walked along the West King Street Bridge. God damn it. West King Street about 8:30 p.m. Saturday, June 10th, 1989. Her nude body was discovered by a fisherman 12 hours later as she lay half submerged in a borrow pond off of Holmes Boulevard. She'd been strangled with a rope and shot in the head once with a .22 caliber, um, probably a pistol. In the same April 1997 statement that he said of when he talked about his first victim, he admitted Anita McQuaig's murder, and this is what he said. And I drove back to my mother's house, and I threw the spent cartridge out toward the median of the road. I can't remember exactly what I did with her clothes, but I probably threw them in San Sebastian Creek on my way home.
I love your William voice.
I don't know what he sounds like. It's just he's a Florida serial killer. He's a cracker from Palatka. you know. So 27-year-old Lashana Streeter was at Crackhead Corner looking for a date on the afternoon of March 1st, 1992, when Lindsay pulled into the parking lot about 4:15 p.m. When she left with him, it would be the last time that she had been seen alive, and within an hour, she would be beaten and kicked to death for allegedly trying to rob Lindsay. She managed to get the door open, but I hit her. I stopped the car and started hitting her some more. I knocked her unconscious, and she didn't mention her name, and I did not know her. But
It's like, what?
Yeah, it don't make any sense.
Was that supposed to be an explanation?
Yeah, but there's also like extra information that I heard on a podcast episode. I can't remember which one. Like I said, there was only 3, but there's a book, and I didn't know about the book until like today when I was finishing up these notes. I was like, son of a bitch, why don't I just get the damn book? But apparently he was somewhat racist, and he did not, apparently when he picked her up, all there was black women out on the streets that night. I guess all the white women were busy, but she gets into his car and she says, or he tells her, I don't like black women, I want a white woman. And she's like, well, honey, I can, I'll take you to where some white women are, let's go. And the whole time she's sizing him up, and then that's when she tried to rob him and everything.
That's
And
just, to me, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, why would you just get in and assume? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, take me somewhere else. Like, what?
She was trying to rob him.
I know, but I'm saying from his point of view, why would you trust it? You know what I mean?
And why would you open the conversation to a black woman and say, I don't like black women?
Okay, to me that does not matter. That, to me, that is not unusual. So think about it. If you go to an ice cream store and all the vanilla ice cream's gone.
Are you comparing this poor woman to ice cream?
No, I'm saying if you're going to purchase something, okay, if it's
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm just messing.
You want
with you.
The little black dress, but all they have are the red dresses, and you walk in, you're going to be like, "Oh, I really wanted a black dress. I don't want a red dress." Just because, I mean, if you're paying for it, you're going to want what you want. It's like going to the hair salon and being like, oh, the military hair place. And you're like, oh, I just want like a bob. And they're like, sorry, ma'am. Like, we only do one haircut here. I'd be like, deuces. Like, I'll go somewhere else. But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, if you think of it from a transactional standpoint, you want what you want. And a lot of times the women, I would assume, understand that. Kind of like, I'm a freak of nature. So if I were out there on the street and somebody wanted a ginger, specifically a ginger, they're not going to settle for a blonde or a brunette. They want a red-haired girl because some people are weird and they really enjoy my hair. I know that's weird, but it's,
I like how
really
you injected yourself into it at the end of there.
Hey, I was trying to use it as an example, and it's the only thing I have going for me. If you want a short, chunky, red-haired girl, I'm your gal. But if you're going in there looking for Amazonian woman, you're not going to pick me up because I'm not going to get your jollies off. You see what I'm saying? See?
Well, I do like redheads, but I don't think that your husband would approve.
No, that would probably be frowned upon. But I've decided there's two types of people in the world: people that don't care what hair color is, and people that absolutely are just all about redheads. There's really not much of an in between.
Although I had a hellish experience with a redhead.
Yeah, some of us are a little crazy.
Anyway, but her body was found 10 days later by a local.
Well, let me just mosey on over here.
It's just that was all funny and everything, and I was just. And then it just came out.
Found. It's like, okay.
No, I wasn't laughing at that. I was just laughing at our previous conversation. It just hit me how fucking funny that was.
It's like, oops. I'm just trying to say, I mean, although a lot of people would look at him. Now, if it was he only wanted African-American women and he didn't want somebody who was white, nobody would think anything of it because he just wants what he wants.
Yeah. I don't know. I've dated several black women in my life.
Some people are a little more particular about what they want.
People are people. Well, yeah. Got it. Funny story. I was dating this black woman back in the early 2000s, and I just started dating her, and I had a friend who's like, I don't have a problem with black people, but I'm just not attracted to them.
Yeah. So I have friends that are African American, and it doesn't bother me. I'm just not. I'm not sexually attracted to them.
He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know when. He's just like, don't have a problem with you dating her or anything like that. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. So I looked at him. I said, "When's the last time you got laid?" He's like, I don't know. It's been about 4 or 5 months. I said, I got laid this morning.
To me, though, it's I don't. Have you ever tried to have sex with somebody you're not sexually attracted to?
Yeah, it doesn't work very well, especially for a guy.
Exactly. It's all dependent on what it is, and it has nothing to do with really. I mean, necessarily even
a
skin
woman
color.
could have sex with a man that she's not attracted to, and that's why
No, they can't.
that's probably why there's a lot more female sex workers than there are male.
No, it's because more men are willing to pay for it and women aren't.
All right, fine.
Just saying.
But just shoot my analogy to shit. And,
well, I'm just throwing it out there because to me, I totally disagree with that. I could not just sleep with anybody. It's not how
You're
it
not
works.
a sex worker. You're not a sex worker.
Well, it has nothing to do with being a sex worker. This is just an in general thing. I mean, we were
saying,
sex workers enjoy sleeping with everybody they bring.
No, they don't.
They don't. Dick and Harry.
John, Dick, and Harry. They don't. No, they don't at all. And I understand that. But what I'm saying is, if a woman's not attracted to a man, but there's for some reason let's just say there's a financial incentive to do so, it's a lot easier for a woman to sleep with somebody that they're not attracted to than it is for a man, because if a man's not attractive, something is not going to
you
work
just mean
properly.
like as far as, because I'm saying it could happen, but I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm not going to get what I want out of it.
Right, but still,
I could lay there and take it, I guess.
if a man's not attracted, he's gonna have a hard time getting it up.
Okay, I guess you have. Well, they make medicine for that, but I'll understand what you're saying.
Anyway, hashtag, but I digress. Her body was found 10 days later by a local man. He was taking a shortcut from State Road 207 to Old Moultrie Road across from what area residents call Quinny's Land. I don't know why. But laying just off a dirt road called Old Dairy Farm Road, she had been partially undressed and hidden under some broken branches and debris.
So not in a borrow.
No. I swear I'd never heard that term before. So I really. Next was 32-year-old Cheryl Lucas. Yeah, she had flagged Lindsey down around 2 a.m. at the corner of Palmer and King Streets on the night of June, a night of June 1995. They had gone less than a block before she also grabbed some money off of the dash and bailed out of the vehicle. She ran down the railroad tracks toward Crackhead Corner, but Lindsey caught up to her, tackled her, and crushed her skull with a pry bar. Probably something that he found on, alongside of the railroad track. And that's
no. I mean, that one sounds like, because these are two different ones. It almost sounds like instead of cornering them and just doing whatever he wanted, now he's kind of adding in that chase factor, like the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple ones. So it's like he's kind of tweaking what he wants to see, because maybe the first one was an oops. He didn't realize the girl was going to mug his ass and take off, and
no,
he did it anyway.
What it was is he's old, and it's not as easy for him to do this as it was when he was, say, in his 30s, when he actually did start.
If he's being old is this factor, then they should be getting away because he can't fucking catch them. Because let me tell you, when you're a spry, probably thin, I'm assuming not an old person to be a sex worker, you're probably going to be a little faster than an old guy.
Well, okay, let's compare something here. Okay, I'm 50 years old. I have bad knees. I have a bad ankle. I have a bad hip. I'm not going to be running anybody down. So he had to have been in considerably better shape than I am, and I'm still, I'm still strong, I'm still functional or anything,
My husband's
stuff
almost
like that.
60 and he can
It's
still
just
run.
it's just everything hurts, but
Yeah.
but he would have had to have been in much better shape than me in order to be able to even run somebody down, somebody that's 32 years old, like Cheryl Lucas,
Yeah.
Her body was found several days later by boaters at the Moultrie Creek boat ramp.
So I'm considering something, and I'm debating whether or not I want to show you a picture of what I want to do.
Go ahead. You can cut it out if it doesn't
Okay.
fit.
I want to do like horror themed pictures. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I'll leave that in, and what?
Yeah, let me know.
For those of you listening on audio only, she just showed a picture of like a woman with a big booty with a tea-back on, but she's like
Freddy Krueger.
A Freddy Krueger sweater that's red and green, the hat and the claws.
It's like a horror themed, almost flirting with
erotica
boudoir photo.
Yeah.
Boudoir or whatever. And there's a feedback form on my website, so you can leave me feedback. But I totally intend to. If I get these done, I will totally see if I could talk somebody to let me post them. Because I have somebody who takes photos.
So we'll link to your website and
here's another one, but I don't think I should do that one.
I can cut that out.
I probably should post that one.
Show me. I can cut it out. Show me. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
There's a whole lot of... When you know what I've got going on up here, trust me, there's going to be a whole lot more hanging out there.
Oh.
Because I actually have something that looks almost just like that, and I've had it on before.
Okay, well, to me, the first thing I thought was 3 of the masks from Halloween 3. Silver Shamrock.
Not seen it.
Don't.
I'm telling you, I don't get out much.
Oh, that's right. You don't like horror movies.
Yeah.
But.
Well, it's not that I don't like it. They don't like me. I have horrible nightmares. Being
Lindsey,
an empath, watching a horror movie is not a good thing.
William also pled guilty to the murders of 32-year-old Jonatha Hale and 48-year-old Diana Richardson, and their bodies had never been found. Jonatha went missing in April of '93 after spending the day with Lindsey at his trailer on Master's farm. On the drive back to King Street, when he was dropping her back off, she told him that she was HIV positive.
Oh.
Lindsey said, William said, I started planning to kill her, and when we got to the end of the paved road, I just stopped the truck and started beating her. I hit her with my fist about 6 or 7 times, and she went out completely unconscious, and I went into the woods about 30 feet along the bank, and I threw her in the creek.
Crick.
Threw her in the creek.
Throw her in the creek. There you go.
The Scream one.
So, I just feel like, I guess I would be more aggressive because, there's nothing saying for sure that he would have gotten it, right? It just means that he could have gotten it.
What that tells me is that he practiced safe sex.
Oh.
Yeah, because he didn't catch it. He didn't catch it.
Well, okay. I will say it doesn't guarantee that every time you have intercourse with someone that's got something, that doesn't mean that you're going to 100% get it.
Right.
I'm just saying if you're going to be murdering them and throwing them in some sort of water, you probably are not going to give a shit whether or not it's wrapped up.
But he didn't have HIV. He was not HIV positive.
I know. I'm just saying he could have slept with somebody who was positive and you just got lucky and didn't get it that time.
Yeah. But at the same time, when he's like using the services of these women, at this point, the women don't realize that he's going to kill her. So he probably was using a condom.
Wait, did you say that she said that after they did the deed, but before he killed her?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in that case, it might not have even been true. She might have just been saying that.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would, but still, I don't know. I don't understand why you would say that, but still, I mean, it could have been.
Well, think about it. For starters, typically, if you do have something like HIV, there is a record of you somewhere. They're going to know. They could track you. See what I'm saying?
But her body was never found.
But maybe to her, she thought it was kind of like her low key way to say, people know. They know me.
Yeah, but that's kind of a bad way to do that, though. After you've just had sex with somebody.
Well, it depends on what he said. At what point did he, you know what I mean? Because we don't know. We weren't there.
Yeah, true.
He might have insinuated something before, or maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe he did it once and then he was going to try to take a second round and not be safe about it, and she mentioned it.
Yeah, could be.
Just throwing options out there.
Yeah, could be. But she was never found. But put a knife in that. Diana disappeared. Diana Richardson disappeared on October 12th, 1999, when she agreed to William's offer for money. William later stated that he had taken her to the same borrow pit where he had killed Connie Terrell. And during sex, something pissed William off. He doesn't remember what, but he hit her in the back of the head hard enough to knock her unconscious with a single blow. He dragged her from a car and dumped her and her body into the borrow pond, where it floated out a short distance and then sank about 30 feet out.
Not his finest work. It's just some of the stuff. It seems very like it goes from 0 to 60 really fast.
Mm-hmm. Sometime after her murder, William moved back to Asheville, North Carolina, and he would frequent the sex workers there. And he also had a reputation of being a rough and bad date. His last known victim was 32-year-old Lucy Raymer. He had picked her up on Chums Cove Road in Asheville, and he had taken her to his trailer, and then brought her, and then took her back. He wanted her again, and there in his trailer, he beat her to death and then dumped her body in a creek. Once her body was found, a cab driver came forward saying that he had dropped her off on the night of the murder and gave them the address, and it was, of course, William's trailer.
So he took
her once on his own, and then the second time, he called her up. I mean, this is 96. We got cell phones. You got those old flip phones. But actually, it wasn't even flip phones yet at that point.
Yeah.
The
big brick.
No, it wasn't that either. It was just the old Nokia phones that are like harder than freaking titanium. Yeah. But so he called her up and she took a cab to him the second time. He was arrested and he confessed, but once they started looking into his background and saw that he had lived in St. Augustine, one of the police officers there in Asheville, or one of the detectives there in Asheville, knew a cop in St. Augustine. And so he knew about a string of unsolved sex worker murders there, where the recovered bodies had been brutally beaten and or strangled. On a hunch, he called in and got the files for these murders. Good old-fashioned hunch. Mm-hmm. Got William linked to 5 unsolved murders 3 states away.
So I have a theory about that. So to me, I don't think there's like hunch. All right. I guess it could be considered a hunch, but maybe that person had some sort of ability that he just, because back then still to this day, I don't go around telling like everybody the stuff that I can do, but I know things before anybody says it or before it happens or whatever. But I just call it, a guess. But maybe he was a little empathic or something and was
No,
able to do that, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense to just be like, have a
well,
hunch.
he knew a guy. He knew a
Yeah,
guy in
I
St.
knew a guy
Augustine.
that knew a guy that knew a guy. But
No,
still,
he was friends with a guy who lived in St.
I
Augustine, a
know, but I'm
police
saying
officer that lived in St. Augustine.
it's not, I don't feel like it's enough information for him to just have a random hunch. You know what I mean?
Well, hunches are what solves cases.
I think that it's not just considered a hunch. I think there's something going on that they either refuse to acknowledge or something.
Maybe.
Just saying.
We'll go with maybe on that one.
Okay.
But William confessed to killing 8 drug-addicted sex workers in more than a decade. And he said that he imagined that he was killing Willa Jean on each one. And he would later take his kids to these crime scenes to go fishing, to relive it with his kids along. This was similar to that fucking wig. He would later say that he had killed 20 to 25 women. He was tried and sentenced to life in Asheville. And he was then extradited to St. Augustine, where he was tried. And on July 9th, 1999, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. That would have been a death sentence for him because he was 61 years old at the time. And he died on April 17th, 2001 from cancer. And he was serving time at the Marion Correctional Institute in Ocala, Florida.
Too soon. Well, it depends. If he was living it up and he wasn't too worried about being in prison, then not soon enough. Now, because to me, like I said, string him up, faster ticket to where he's going, and he's going to burn, and the faster we can get him there, the better.
He really did have a split personality. It's like he would be nice to some of these sex workers, and he would even let them stay for periods of time at his place. And some of these sex workers are the women that I've just listed that he killed. He wanted companionship, and lots of these times, the women that stayed with him would rob him, and he didn't care because he just wanted the companionship. He didn't care until he did.
There was a trigger. There was a trigger, either some combination of words or an action or something that triggered him and brought out that extra piece.
Like if Willa Jean used to like criticize his cooking or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he was cooking something for her, and she's like, "Oh, that's not so good there, Will."
Yeah.
And, you must die. But but the thing is he would take them back to where they were. He would basically kick them out of the house, because every single one of these, he picked them up in Crackhead Row or whatever, or other places. So he would come back to them, he would drop them off, and then like days later or a period of time later, he would come back and he's just like, "You want to go?"
Actually, so
okay, honey.
Another thing also could be maybe the ones that he was with once or whatever, there wasn't any type of attachment or expectation with these women, but the ones that he went back to multiple times, he then developed in his mind some sort of relationship that maybe in his head was a relationship, but to them obviously was just a transaction. And maybe when the realization that they were not actually in a relationship, maybe that's what triggered him.
It could be, but so it's just, this really is a Jekyll and Hyde thing, though.
My son's laughing at my makeup. He just knocked over the window.
I think it looks cool. We're almost done.
I'm almost done. Okay.
You ready for my hot take?
Hot take.
Hot take.
I wish I had one of those things where I could take one.
I don't think that Lucy Raymer was his only murder outside of Florida. I think that his number that he claims of 20 to 25 is accurate. I think he had victims in Tennessee and Virginia as well as North Carolina and Florida. I also think that he has a lot more in Florida. Remember, 2 of his victims were never found. And the
But he
places that
admitted to him.
yeah, he did. But there's others that he hasn't, that haven't been talked about. Maybe he didn't remember the name. Maybe, and the bodies, or maybe he did remember the name, but the body was never found. And I'm getting to why.
Okay, because I also have another theory.
2 of his victims were never found, and the places that he dumped them in Florida were swampy areas known for lots of alligators.
Pete Bods.
I think that let me finish my hot take, and then you can give your hot take.
That's not my thing. I'm just saying a peat bod is similar to like a swampy area where they get submerged and nobody finds them.
That doesn't exist in Florida, but I think others were taken in, like deeper into the swamps and secluded spots of the St. Johns River, to areas known for large numbers of alligators. William Lindsey is Willie Picton light with alligators instead of pigs.
Maybe. There's a reason why.
That's what I believe.
Just so you know, there are peat bogs in Florida.
Where?
To be specific, in East Central Florida. It's actually considered America's leading bog body site. 168 people, including men, women, and children, were buried there.
Where? That East Florida is like over 300 miles. The east coast of Florida is over 300 miles.
Peat bogs grow 6 inches per 100 years. I haven't found like it exactly. It just says eastern. Like there's there's like a section that's a peat bog.
Where though? Because like I said, we're talking over 300 miles of East Florida.
What?
From Miami to Jacksonville, you're looking at over 300 miles.
Brevard County near Titusville?
He wouldn't have been there. That's where I grew up.
I was like, I'm just looking at different places. Harrell's Bog and Avon Park.
Avon Park is also that's like about an hour away from where I live now.
And
not where he would have been.
This one says northwest, but I don't see a specific spot. Anyway, I just feel like there'd still be some sort of remnants. Do alligators not, if they eat something that kind of is like they can't digest or they get stuck or it's too much, that because some animals will do that. They digest
the bones.
Oh, okay.
Just like pigs do. Just like pigs do.
I'm just was thinking, there's something. What is it that eats something, and then like they can't digest all of it, and they like kind of regurgitate it, kind of like a vulture. I think a vulture does that.
Vultures do that. Snakes do that, but alligators don't.
So
and those areas that you mentioned are nowhere near St. Augustine or Jacksonville or even Palatka for that matter.
And then two, as far as his numbers go, if he has multiple people in his head, some of the named people and some of the unnamed people might be the same people if he was going in and out or triggered at a certain point in their interaction.
But he could only kill him once.
But he wouldn't remember.
We're only talking about 2, though. We're only talking about 2.
But if you said that there's, a reported like 20-something, but only 6 are confirmed.
I'm telling you, he was feeding women to alligators.
Well, maybe some of them, but maybe not all of them. I know someone who literally, when they get triggered and they flip that switch, they threw lamps and broke things in the house and would do all these things. And then when he would wake back up and be the old him, he would not remember anything. He'd be like, why the hell is the lamp broke? I know this because I grew up with it.
He fed them to alligators.
I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying, to me, if there's only 6 or 7, and now if these 20-something that he had, are they all people that he said, or are these ones that people think maybe, but he hasn't actually confirmed it?
No, all of the ones that he was convicted of, he did. There was one more. He was convicted of the 2 girls that weren't found because he confessed to it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones between 6 and 20-something.
But some of those would have happened in Virginia. Some of those would have happened in Tennessee. The bulk of them probably happened in Florida.
Because I'm just saying, if there are ones where people are like, "Oh, he could have been these people."
I think there's unsolved cases in Virginia and Tennessee and North Carolina that were him. Not very many. I think he did the bulk of his killing in Florida.
I just don't know why he wouldn't have just admitted to it. If he admitted to the other 2 that the bodies weren't found, why would he not just admit to all of them? I mean, he's screwed either way. Well, life's life. Now, granted, if it was the Tennessee one and Tennessee, say, had the death penalty, I could understand not admitting to that one. But if it's another...
Tennessee does have the death penalty.
Yeah, but what about the other one?
North Carolina has the death penalty.
Okay. But I was just thinking, I mean, that's a big gap.
I think Virginia, I think Virginia did at the time, but I think they've since taken it off.
Okay, because I was just thinking, now it'd be more realistic if it was 100% he admitted to, say, the 6 and 7, but he was maybe accused of, say, 10. That's one thing. But if for it to go from 6 or 7 to 20-something, that's a big jump.
Not necessarily.
Like, especially because there were other people operating out of certain areas over the time frame that he could have been doing it. I feel like it's just one of those things where, who was it? Damn it. Bill, was it Ray Lucas or something? Where they just started throwing all these cases at him.
No. See, he didn't give any specifics about these other women, other than, he might have known a name or whatever, but he wasn't saying, yeah, I did this one. He wasn't pointing to like unsolved cases that were on the books where they had a body. He wasn't pointing to that. That's what Henry Lee Lucas did.
He was only pointing to those because they threw it at him. He had no idea until the cops brought it.
Right. What William was doing was just like, I killed others, and he was giving details about them, but there was no case, there was no there was no nothing. They did that, yeah, he fed them to gators, and because of the fact that they were sex workers, they just there's no record of them. He fed them to gators. He's Willie Picton light with gators instead of pigs.
I'm just thinking maybe some of them, but maybe some of them weren't, but they might have ended up with the same fate. I just feel like if you have an environment where it's that easy to do that to a human being, odds are he's not the only fucking person doing it. It's kind of like the mob when you find somebody in the river with, cement blocks on their feet.
Probably not. But at the same time, yeah, I believe his number between 20 and 25. I believe it. He fed them to gators.
We will just agree to disagree unless I have more information and unless he says 25 names that he admits to doing, then I just will say that there's probably not that high.
Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not a monster, because he's definitely a monster.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Did he kill 20 to 25 and feed a good chunk of them to gators, or did he not, like Natasha here is saying?
Hey, I'm saying there might be some. I'm saying there might be some that he didn't admit to, but not 25, maybe 10, 12 max. Because at that point, if he's willing to give you information on bodies that weren't even found, then he's probably not hiding a whole lot from you.
No, I believe it.
So, only time will tell. Can an alligator eat a whole person?
Yes.
Or do you have to like cut them up? I guess it depends on the size of the alligator, right?
An alligator will rip a person apart.
Oh yeah, they do that little rolly thing, don't they?
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe
Anyway.
that they would get every single teeny tiny piece and have absolutely nothing left behind.
Well, there'll be stuff left behind, but you know what? Fish and turtles will get that.
Oh my God, can you imagine you see all these fish and they're just like, they choke to death on fragments?
Not to mention, bull sharks, I believe. It's either bull sharks or tiger shark can live in fresh water, and it's not uncommon
Well,
to
in
see
fresh
them
water, but I
in
don't think they live in swamps.
the St. John's River feeds swamps.
Well, but I'm just thinking they're not usually deep enough for a shark to
Oh,
maneuver in.
the St. John's River flows south to north. Just fun fact.
When I think of a swamp, I think of, it's stumpy and there's trees and it's thick. It's not like feet and feet, like hundreds of feet of just flowing water. That's why a lot of people don't take boats and stuff in there because they get stuck, right?
But you've also got like
oh, we're in Florida.
The marshlands. Yeah, this is Florida.
Hey, when did the python thing happen?
The python thing? That started when Hurricane Andrew hit and it smashed.
I don't know when that was.
92. Hurricane Andrew came.
What if some of them were like Anaconda style, like the movie? And they eat that guy.
That's not based on reality.
I just didn't know because I know. I know there's a bunch, and I've seen like videos of some that are huge that could easily eat a person. Maybe they're getting the leftovers.
They can, but they're not going to gulp it down like the Anaconda did in the Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube movie.
Hey, I don't know how snakes work.
But I used to breed Burmese pythons, so yeah.
I want a snake so bad.
Don't get a Burmese python.
No, I won't get that. I'm not. I mean, personally, I would want a viper of some kind because I just like them better.
Crazy. One wrong move, you're dead.
I know.
but
just like
anyway,
me.
Damn. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to like the show, share the
whatever
show,
direction it is.
Subscribe, comment. You can comment on YouTube, you can comment on Apple, and you can now comment on Spotify. So hook us up, hook Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracies up too. And thanks to Natasha for sitting in.
Now I'm gonna have alligator nightmares.
And definitely check out her podcast as well. And until next time, later.
See ya.